At this time, we'll call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting for the purpose of agenda review for next week's business session. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Klicka.
Here.
Commissioner Osterhaus is in the building. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
And Chairman Eilert.
Here. We do have a quorum present. Would the clerk please read the proposed consent agenda items?
Number 1, consider approving April 26, 2018 business session minutes. Item number 2, consider appointing Karen Barber as the 6th District Representative to the Board of Zoning Appeals through May 5, 2021. Item number 3, consider approving the proposed line item budget adjustments to the SFY 2018 Kansas Department of Corrections grant budget and transmitting the adjustment to the Secretary of Corrections on the SFY 2018 quarterly budget adjustment report.
Okay. Joe, can you speak to number 3? The others,
No, I cannot.
do you have a brief statement?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Maury, can you?
Yes, Chairman.
Maury.
Maury?
Yes,
Okay.
I can speak to that item since Joe won't.
What are you standing there for, Joe? Okay. Mr. Thompson.
And I apologize, Robert Sullivan had a prior commitment, so I gave him permission to scoot out of here since we delayed this item. This is actually just what I would deem a technical correction. The Community Corrections Board met recently and approved this action. There was some excess funds in one line item that they needed to move to a different one. The way the current state regulation statutes are written, that requires to go back before the Community Corrections Advisory Board and ultimately this body to approve. So
Okay.
we're doing that.
Questions?
Yeah, do I have to wait till next week to make a motion to approve this?
We should. Okay. Consent agenda will stand as presented. Item number 4.
Request for proposal number 15-0078. Consider authorizing the reallocation and expenditure of fund balances, reserves for FY 2018 out of the general fund in an amount up to $315,819 for the election offices voting equipment CIP for project management, training, serves, workstations, consumables, and additional peripheral items, and authorize a contract with Election Systems and Software, LLC, for voting equipment in the amount of $10,398,245.
Now, Mr. Waters.
And you probably wonder why I'm up here for this as well. I am, however, filling in for Ronnie Metzger, election commissioner. He is at the Kansas County Clerks and Election Officials Annual Conference in Wichita, but he will be here next week for action. So I will just touch on this at very high level, commissioners. The purpose of this project is to replace our very, very old fleet that's a minimum of 18 years and then a little bit older. That's the newest equipment we have, I believe, in the fleet. This project is a $13.1 million project the board approved several years ago and then reapproved each year in anticipation of this action here today. The objective of this acquisition now and the vote next week will be to have the first wave of equipment in place for the primary elections this summer. We are accessing this contract through a joint RFP that went out between Johnson County, Sedgwick, Shawnee, and Wyandotte counties in 2015. We are getting the latest and greatest version of the equipment from ES&S, a premier provider of voter VVPT electronic voting equipment. There was a process that was thoroughly vetted amongst those 4 entities that each arrived at the conclusion that ES&S was the recommended provider, and the other 3, Sedgwick, Shawnee, and Wyandotte, have entered into contracts already for this equipment. The election commissioner, however, didn't just go with that. When he joined the county several years ago, he and his staff went through an exhaustive process of checking and rechecking to make sure that they were still comfortable with that selection. and they indeed have been. So they recommend this contract award, and there's 5 components to it. The first and primary one is the equipment and the software. Now, that is to acquire 2,100 machines. We have about 2,400 and some change on the existing voting machines, so that we are coming back with a few less. The primary purpose for this, again, is the old systems are out of production, no longer supported. Duct tape and baling wire holding them together, essentially. But the primary reason is not to go with this system, is to get to that voter verifiable paper audit trail, VVPAT, that increases security and transparency for our voters. It also includes a ballot scanner that is high speed for the paper ballot components that are not run through those machines. That totals, Commissioners, about $10.4 million of this overall action today. The second component is the servers and workstations. Those are about $45,000. This is for tabulation software that is associated with the system. That will also be debt financed. The third component is licensing, maintenance, and support. This is a computerized system. It's a new system. We need to have the ongoing warranty and maintenance agreements on the equipment, as well as software and hardware licensing that we will carry forward on an ongoing basis. So that is the third component of the support on an ongoing nature for this mission-critical function. The fourth is this peripheral equipment, uninterruptible power sources, things like that, that are needed to properly put the system in place and keep it operational. And then consumables. The VVPAT system just has a lot of paper. It has other things that are new expenditures that will be associated with this new system on an ongoing basis. Those are the 5 components. The vast majority of that is is planned for bond proceeds. Of course, only those that will meet that 10-year life, as Commissioner Ashcraft had questioned a little earlier this morning. Oh, good. I got one right then.
Okay.
As I said, this is a $13.1 million project overall, $10.5 million in capital, other miscellaneous expenses that will be coming up in the course of implementing this project, and then on an ongoing basis going forward. We have a companion item next, but this item number 5, that is essentially the bond component of that, and Nate will speak to that when we are ready for him.
Okay, well, for those of us who were able to participate in the voter canvass Monday, we did have an opportunity to view the proposed new equipment and demonstrate it to us. And so I congratulate the election officer on his selection, and I know he's been working hard. The equipment has been used by the other counties that were mentioned for at least a couple of years, and Mr. Metzger was waiting on some modifications and upgrades, and so congratulations, we're at this point. Other questions? All right, so item number 4 will remain on action. Number 5 is the companion to that. Any additional comments you want to make, Mr. Waters?
Well, I do not, except to remind commissioners this was planned all along. It's been planned and budgeted for bonds to be sold for this purpose. We
Okay.
are anticipating
All right.
10-year bonds, correct? Yes. All right.
Any questions about item number 5?
Not today.
All right, well, again, it will remain on action. So turning to item number 6.
Resolution number 024-18, application NW-CU-3373 LE. Consider a request from Julie Huff, applicant landowner, for a conditional use permit renewal for an oversized accessory building at 13808 Walnut View Drive on approximately 4.7 acres, RN1 Residential Neighborhood 1 District.
Mr. Leipzig.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jay Leipzig, Planning and Development Codes. This item was recommended for approval by the Northwest Consolidated Zoning Board They met on April 16th, 2018. This is a renewal of a conditional use permit that was previously approved. With that, I have no further comments or questions.
Questions? All right, this is a zoning item, will remain on action. Next item.
Item number 7, resolution number 025-18, and application number NW-CU-3375-OL. Consider a request from Dan Forrester, applicant landowner, for a conditional use permit renewal for an oversized accessory building located at 25055 West 128th Street on approximately 7 acres zone PRU 1A, Planned Residential Urban Single Family 1A District.
Mr. Leipzig.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jay Leipzig, Planning Development Codes. This item was brought before you from the Northwest Consolidated Zoning Board. The group met on April 16, 2018. It was unanimously recommended for approval. Staff is also recommending approval. This is a renewal of a conditional use permit that was previously approved.
Okay. Questions? All right. Again, this is only an item, remains on action. Item 8.
Application number NW-PPFP-3381-LE. Consider a request from Dana Dean, applicant landowner, for preliminary and final plat approval for 3 residential lots on approximately 69 acres to be known as Dean Farms on property zoned RUR, Rural District, located at 10865 Kill Creek Road, Johnson County, Kansas. Plat authorization number 0517-18A and B.
Mr. Leipzig.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jay Leipzig, Planning and Development Codes. This item is presented for you from the Northwest Consolidated Zoning Board. That group met on April 16, 2018. The Zoning Board recommend unanimous approval of this item. However, if you look at the staff recommendation, was recommended for denial. I wanted to explain that a little bit. This is, you all are aware that we have the planning subcommittee that is looking at development patterns and trends. One of the, in our current subdivision regulations, we have waiver provisions. We also have plat exception conditions. One of the things that this group is looking at is ways that we can reconcile those so we don't have to bring waivers or plat exceptions to you. And so even though this item is recommended for denial by staff, it's because we are prescribed by our subdivision regulations that we're currently using. However, with the preliminary recommendations of the planning subcommittee, this item would recommend approval for these items. There are 2 minimum infrastructure waivers providing access to an arterial road for lots 1 and 2. Those access points are consistent with CARNP, which is our traffic standards, and currently we have additional, more restrictive standards on top of that in our subdivision regulations. So that's why that waiver recommending it was listed as denial, but staff is comfortable with recommending approval. Also, on the plat exceptions on lot 1 is an existing condition, and so the other provision that the planning subcommittee is looking at is existing conditions like that were created by previous planning decisions rather than penalizing that property owner moving forward.
All right, let me understand clearly that the staff denial is because it's inconsistent with existing policy. The subcommittee is making a recommendation which would allow this to happen?
Yes.
And does the staff agree with that subcommittee's recommendation?
Yes, Chairman, the staff
Okay.
does agree with that.
All right, okay, thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay, again, this will remain on action. Are there any other items?
No, sir.
We do have we need to add the agenda item in regards to the public hearings, so that will be added, and I would suggest that we put that item as item number 1 on the action agenda. So that will be noted and added. Any other questions? All right, our agenda review is completed. We will have some sandwiches available, or sandwich material available in the board conference room. So help yourself, and we will begin our budget deliberations as soon as we can after 1 p.m.
Thank you.